Oh, no,
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm sure everyone here knows exactly what hip hop is, and if you don't, I'm actually here to give you a little hip hop. We don't stop until everyone knows what hip hop is. I'm just kidding about that, but you know, if you want to, go ahead. I'm cool. Anyways, hip hop. Everyone pretty sure knows that it's a pretty big genre in music right now. If you hear in radio, on the internet, I'm pretty sure one of us or two have been to concerts before. But then, does anyone know the origin of where hip hop started? Well, that's why I'm here today. I'm here to actually take you back to the past and explore the origins of hip hop and look into its culture and how it evolved into the hip hop it is today. All right. Hip hop began in the late 60s and the early 70s. And no, it wasn't really created by some rock band or anything like that. Oh.
You just pushed the wrong button.
Oh, whoops. Well, anyways, I'll keep my place. It began in the late 60s and the early 70s, and it wasn't started by some rock band or anything like that. It actually started in the Bronx of New York. It also came from, it was starting in multiple eras too, but the Bronx was actually the center of where hip hop started. And it was mainly due to the mix of African American and also Puerto Rican. Back to the Puerto Rican and African influences of their culture together. And also at the time they had block parties. It was becoming a really big fad where everyone would come out at night and just dance and play funk and soul music, basically. And who they have in these block parties are DJs right here. The DJs, they were pretty much the life of the party. They were also one of the main factor that started hip hop. It wasn't even called hip hop when they first came in. It was just really cool music to dance to. And here I actually have a video of how hip hop started.
Couple more records got the same breakup in it. Wonder how would it be if I put them all together. And I told them, I said, I'm gonna try something new tonight. I'm gonna call it the merry-go-round.
Herc's merry-go-round meant that instead of playing whole records, he would play just the instrumental breaks, mixing between them to create a continuous dance rhythm.
Alright. And that person you just saw was actually DJ Kool Herc, who was also known as the father of hip hop. He himself invented rap. With that one loop you just heard, it was actually how rap started. There was no instruments, no vocals or anything. It was just pure instruments taken from other songs. And he experimented and it became really popular. And as it started to grow within the years, more DJs came in, and then they had MCs afterward, which are pretty much just people that sing on the mic and stuff. And eventually it became a whole big element, like a big culture known as the hip hop culture. Oh, no. Just suddenly stopped working.
Somebody's pushed a button.
It's not on. Oh, there we go. Okay. This here is DJ African Bambaataa. He's actually one of the other pioneers of hip hop. He was the one DJ who said that all these DJs and MCs and also B-boys they're what created the elements of hip hop. And in the elements of hip hop, there are 4 kinds. As you can see, there's DJs, MCs, B-boys, and also graffiti. And right now, we'll go on to DJing. DJing is actually they use the turntables as an instrument in hip hop. It keeps the music going, and it basically keeps the party alive. You know, people will dance to it, have fun. During the early years, DJing was actually the main spotlight. MCs, they weren't as popular as DJs were, because they were the soul and also the heart of hip hop. But eventually, they kind of lost that spotlight when MCs started rapping to music. And MCing, they're known as the voice of hip hop. What they basically do is they rap to the music. They keep up the hype. Audiences would be excited to hear when an MC, sing or maybe like bring the audience in to dance. They are also, back then, they were mainly just there to help support the DJs, introduce them. But then eventually they started making their own lyrics and started rhyming with the beat. And it became a really big fad at the time. And a lot of MCs came in, like for example, Curtis Blows and the Sugar Hill Gang. They all came in and started, just taking over, building up the hype for hip hop. Graffiti. Graffiti originally wasn't part of hip hop, but then it got integrated in because of graffiti artists that started getting into the other aspects of hip hop. But then graffiti actually started in the 60s as actually a political activist way of expressing their dislike for the government and stuff like that. And still is kind of today, just not as much. And finally, b-boying. B-boying is the physical message of hip hop. It also stems straight from hip hop, and what b-boys do, they dance to the beat of a beat that's been played by the DJs, and they use that form as a way to express how they feel within the Bronx, and also a competitive way of testing out their skills in dance with other members that b-boys too. And I have another clip to show. This is all the elements except graffiti all at once.
Y'all, here we go. If you want to step south with another man, we'll that's the pace. You run song with them to Japan, say it. The IRS says they want to chat, and you can't explain why you claim the cat. My bell said you're bumping him. Well, 18 phone calls to Brazil, and you bought money from the mall. And yesterday you lost.
Alright, so basically that was the three elements of hip hop that was the basic foundation of how hip hop culture began and continued throughout the ages. It showed actually a very positive aspect and how people could, just basically forget about their hard times and just get together and have fun. However, as the years change, so did hip hop change as well. And what we have now is the hip hop of today.
Yeah.
The thing that I would say that was abandoned in hip hop was eventually DJs lost all of their grip on the hip hop as well as the b-boys. Nowadays, what we have is actually MCs or rappers and artists that just basically rap about whatever they feel like. Some does still have meaning, but then they're from it wasn't as fresh as back in the 70s or 80s, which was actually the golden age of hip hop. Nowadays, actually, from what the New York Times they actually say that it's been slowly declining. Sales in hip hop and stuff has been declining ever since 2005. And in 2006, Nas actually released a album called Hip Hop is Dead, which actually brought a lot of hip hop enthusiasts questioning if hip hop really is still alive or not. And there really is no answer to that for now. Hip hop is still around, and we're also listening to it. And if it won't be gone for quite a while, in my opinion. So, in conclusion, the origins of hip hop started as a fresh, groundbreaking movement where people from the Bronx just decided, get together and create a new culture that for the youth of that time to exploit what they're going through and their abilities. And through the 4 elements of hip hop, they're actually able to the 4 elements of hip hop, they're actually able to express that, and it became something that was sorry about that. It became something big and special to them. But then eventually hip hop changed, and it will keep changing, and it could be for the better or for the worse, as long as we just help it out and support or change what we see that's wrong in hip hop today.
Kaylee, what did you think?
I like your attention vibes and your hippie hoppity whatever. And you have pretty good pictures representing hip hop. And then the second video was good. The first one, with the volume, you should restarted it because it was started low, but just a little technical thing. And then pushing the wrong button was a little off, and then it came on quicker than I thought. So that was kind of a plus, I guess. And I liked how you mentioned your purpose statement. A lot of people haven't yet, so that was pretty good. And I think overall, I think it was good.
Okay. Yeah, the purpose statement was pretty clear. I didn't think that the structure was clear at the beginning of the speech. Internally, as you're going through with the slides, I get an idea that there is a structure and that you're using that as one of the ways of indicating it. It's topical in nature. I thought it was going to start off chronological, but mostly it turns topical because you're talking about the different functions of the different components in the process. Since you don't really talk about graffiti, I think you could probably cut that out, and you need to start cutting stuff out. It's 11 minutes and 43 seconds, so you're almost 4 minutes over time, 50% longer than it should have been. I think everybody's going to get a good sense of. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm jumping on you, but it's an example. You need to rehearse it, you need to practice it, and I think people can understand why, because it's just, you can see where things just stop and you hesitate and you're not quite sure what's going on because you're trying to figure out the next thing that's coming here. And that's one of those things that practice takes care of, and it eliminates those kinds of things. It'll flow a lot more smoothly then. Sometimes there's some good information in the presentation. It's not always cited, and I think you want to be more consistent about doing that. The visual images are okay. I kind of agree with Kaylee. I thought that the second video worked really well, kind of putting everything together there at the end. I like that. The first one maybe would have worked a little bit better had everything functioned smoothly, but I didn't see that as being a particular problem. We caught up with it. I thought it was less useful to us because it was mostly just talking about it as opposed to seeing it and demonstrating it, and I think that worked better with the second video clip that you had. I could live forever without seeing the last picture. So, it's like, really? But, when you say hip hop is dead, not only is it dead, it's molding in the grave, apparently, right in front of us. I thought you had an interesting subject. You talked about it pretty well. It needs a little bit tighter structure. You need a little bit more practice on doing things, and you definitely need to edit it some more. All right.